Ladies, gentlemen, welcome back. And today we've got a new podcast, a new series of podcasts with CB creators and just kind of being a general chat and just a chill out. Cup of tea, a coffee. And speaking of coffee, we have Coffee Fuel Gaming here. Welcome in.
Hello, thanks for having me, Plummy.
No problem at all. We're just going to be chatting about stuff to do with the game, just general life and improvements, units, whatever takes our fancy. Just an hour or so chat about what we could do to make the game better, and it's purely in sort of the vein of making the game better. So if someone happened to see it from kind of the dev point of view, you know, they might consider some of our ideas a good idea. So starting off, Coffee, what have you for this season?
Well, what we've actually been able to play of it, I think it's been okay. It's not been anything special. Nothing kind of magical has happened with it. Obviously, the server issues and stuff we have had had a massive negative effect on the whole season overall, I think. But it's definitely one of the lower seasons, I think, in terms of kind of how good it's been. I don't think it's the worst, but it's definitely not the best.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's been a weird one. I feel like it's had, even without, if you take the server issues away, I feel like this season hasn't really had anything that stood out to me. Like, if you look at last season, Sendoku, or whatever it was, I felt like there was just a lot of content. Every time I logged back in after a few weeks or after a week or so, there was something new. There was a...
Yeah.
What's that thing called? Together to Victory.
Events and the PvE defend mode. Is that the one you were on about?
Yeah. There was they changed it up twice, didn't they? There was one where you infiltrated, and there's one where you defended that changed over mid-season. I thought was a great. I mean, it had its problems, and PvE in this game, I think, does have issues that we'll get into. But then we had the mastery units that season. We had the matchlocks, the Naginata monks, and then the 3 seasonal units. There felt like there was a lot to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've obviously had the Halloween stuff this season, but
we'd get that anyway.
That in itself hasn't really kind of added much.
Was there a Halloween battle mode? I didn't actually get to do one this season.
Yeah, there was in the Coliseum. You had like a Dreadlord kind of person.
Yeah, I remember it from last season. I just didn't really get to do it this season. It was
It was good. It was good. It wasn't as good as the first Halloween kind of things they've done, I don't think.
No.
But it's nice them still celebrating actual world seasons. Like
I think the issue that I have is that if Sendoku fell over Halloween or Christmas, we would have had that as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So then you would have had the most content. If a seasonal real life event is the only bit of content a season on CB has, I feel like that's a little bit of an issue.
Yeah. Was it last season we had the Naraka stuff as well?
Yes. Yeah. Wait. Where we had the kind of the joining of 2 games.
Conqueror City, like decorations and.
I think that was the start of. So I could be wrong, but I think that was the start of Sendoku.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on then, wasn't there? Last season,
that we were spoiled. But getting on the point of seasons as well. Do you think these days the seasons are adequate? Do you think there needs to be a big shake-up? I obviously watched your video, and guys, if you haven't, you probably have already, Coffee has a YouTube channel where at the moment he does a lot of well, actually, you can go ahead and do a little...
Yeah, I've started headed more into kind of the news, the patch notes, kind of what's happening with the game. Obviously, all the Project Nirvana stuff I'm keeping like a real close eye on as well. So I've made a few specific videos about that. Still doing a lot of shorts and stuff in terms of gameplay, but I've never really been one to make Siege gameplay anyway. I used to obviously do all the unit stuff, but so you've started taking the crown for that. So I'm focusing more on the news and the runnings of the game and everything like that, which personally I find more interesting anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, also the unit stuff, I get quite lucky because with my job, when it rains or it's like stormy, I can't do it. So that's why my content over the winter picks up so much. Is because, and you know, when a new unit's out, I just sort of can sit here. I kind of treat it as it becomes my job. So. I'll get to work, I'll sharpen a few chainsaws and whatever, and then it'll get called off, and I'll get back and just be like, right, I'm sitting down here for 8 hours, and I knock out like 3 videos.
Oh, that's the dream, Plummy.
But that's, I mean, the difference in obviously getting paid to actually go. I don't get paid if I don't go to work. So if it's storming, it's a double-ended sword, or But in terms of the normal seasons, so like how we get the battle pass, we used to get the seasonal weapons that I'd love to hear your opinion on.
I'm kind of disappointed that hasn't been happening the last few seasons, because they obviously they were making a seasonal weapon every season, weren't they, for every weapon, and then it became the apparently most used weapons in the game. So then they really reduced that down, and all of a sudden, like the last couple of seasons, I don't think we've really had any, have we? We may have had 1 or 2, but it's nothing in comparison to what we used to get.
Well, we used to have every single weapon. There was the one thing I used to get really excited about when a new season came out was I'd go to this. One of the first things I did, go to the seasonal store and just check out all the new attires that you could get, and you'd normally get yourself 1 or 2 of them a season. There was no barrier to entry.
I think that's been a bit of a disappointment, them taking that out recently. That seems to kind of... I could understand it if they were, say, putting more units in and something like that, but it just seems to everything seems to have stopped, or that's how I feel anyway.
And it's not really the fix that I would have done. So if you say, we're taking them out because there's a lot of ones that don't get used, well, why don't you look into the fact of why those weapons are not getting used? Instead of taking them out. There'd be a reason why that longbow is not getting picked, and that is mainly because you can't kill anything with longbows apart from peasants.
That's it, which obviously goes to show then there's issues with the game and the mechanics of it.
Yeah, but we'll get into that. And then obviously we got the battle pass. What's your opinion on that at the moment?
I think the battle pass system, to be honest, is as good as it can get.
Yeah,
I think it is pretty fair. It does reward, obviously, the grinding and stuff. Obviously, if you want to put a bit of money in each season, then and rightly so, you should get additional rewards for that. But I think even the free battle pass, I think is rewarding enough. Like, I think the way they've done the battle pass now, I think is actually one of the better things that is currently season to season, which is staying the same. I don't think really you could improve upon that much, to be honest. I think they give you ample enough time to kind of complete it as well. Like, I'm literally just hitting level 99 now, and I haven't really stormed the game this season at all. So.
Yeah, I haven't seen you on that much this season.
No, that's it. It just, I feel like I've played enough. And obviously,
you'll easily do it.
Could play for a month or so with all the.
Oh, well, that's true. That's true. I'm obviously got some good compensation for that, but I think you'll easily get it this season. We've got 1 week left of the season, and then 3 weeks
left. Weekly challenges. Like I've got 1 level to get, so
that'll be fine. Yeah, that's great. And then obviously we had the compensation. Do we think that was good enough? It was very generous, actually. I thought.
I think so. I personally think so. I mean, all right, server issues and DDoS and all the rest of it. I think it was more than fair. I think I'd rather them spend a bit more time kind of sorting out the servers and stuff, though. Obviously, because I don't know if you've been aware, but the last few territory wars we've had, every single territory war about quarter to 8, so quarter of an hour just before TW ends. The server seems to really hit the wall a little bit, and stuff doesn't seem to be working properly. Now, I don't know if that's because of influx of people all of a sudden, or there's just so many kind of things happening on the server that servers aren't used to. I'm not.
That's sure, the thing is, I put TW for this season on the back burner. I just took it. They've taken a season off of it. I haven't really wanted to get involved, and it's probably been the best season I've ever had to not do that. It's been with all the server stuff going on, I just feel.
I think you've picked the perfect season not to do it. So.
But I will, if the next season kind of tickles my fancy, and then I probably will have a look at getting back into it. It's just finding the time. I'll probably only be able to do Tuesdays, but nonetheless, get back into a bit of competitive play with that. But that leads me on to, isn't there meant to be TW changes coming up? I heard some talk of some stuff, them putting some real effort into TW.
I think they need to. Personally, I think the whole TW system needs to change. I think the whole world map and fiefs and everything needs a revamp. I think I would be happy to have a season where it is all about kind of game mechanic revamps, TW revamp, all that kind of stuff, rather than getting new stuff. I'd much rather a season where they just change the whole kind of flow of everything.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. Personally, the whole open world outside of being in a city and signing up for sieges needs to be looked at. Personally, in terms of even just like going out farming items. When was the last time you crafted yourself a unit kit?
I haven't. I don't think I've ever bothered. I mean, the last time I crafted artillery was 2 or 3 seasons ago. So.
It's there's no use for anything apart from maybe getting those, like, when you get like amber and stuff from those nodes
even that
to donate. But even then, you can. It's become a bit sort of useless to do anything outside.
It's a bit of a nothing kind of place outside of the city, to be honest. But it's a shame because back in closed beta, so before the game released, the whole, from what I remember, obviously I'm talking about almost 5 years ago at this point, but the whole outside seemed and felt actually worthwhile, and it felt worthwhile taking fiefs and actually owning fiefs and everything like that. But going back to the TW system, I think they need to get rid of, or definitely limit at least, the prestige and everything required to attack certain fiefs and everything. I think that when they brought that system originally in, and it's obviously there's so many kind of ways people have tried to get around it and play the system and all the rest of it. I think personally, back when literally you could get attacked by anyone and everyone and without a moment's notice as well, I think that was the best.
I think that's
TW system ever was.
I think anything like that where it's spontaneous, or when spontaneous or has spontaneity to it, I think kind of makes fun of gameplay, where you can get like a noob house or just some random cohort just attack you for no reason at all.
Yeah, just go for it.
Yeah, you can clear them out, but then the only thing that would be a problem with that is that if there was a timer that came up, then you could use that as a bit of an exploit.
I think that in terms of timings, I think still keep it Tuesday, Saturday nights. I think that kind of make sure people are on. But so one of the original houses I was in, Saxons, was actually we were known as a mercenary house, which you just wouldn't be able to do now because it just wouldn't work. But people were actually
just going
paying
around
us silver
Oh,
to just
nice.
go and attack their enemies.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Whether we got the village or not, or the city or not, it doesn't really matter. It's just because it was pulling people away from, say, a main defense or a main attack. And I think actually having an open system like that and allowing player-driven mercenary houses like that, that really does fuel the game a lot.
Totally agree, but I also think there needs to be something for you to actually want to fight for. Like when you have a city these days, I don't feel like it means that much.
No. Nothing really holds value, does it?
Where, like, what I ideally want is there to be you to be able to take a city or a village or whatever with like, even if you're a small group, you take it and you're like, this is our city. I want to hold this city, and you can like choose where your smiths and your armorers go. You can add extra where your units spawn when you get attacked. You can choose, like, we got defend and deploy, right? Let's just take that system, pre-battle system, where you set out your units, your AI units that you get given, in your own where you want them. Like, I'd love to be able to actually customize the city. You know, like, if you look behind us right now in game, there is a banner on there. Why is that not your house banner? Actually, when you're in a city.
Yeah. That's the thing, and things like that wouldn't be difficult to kind of program.
Little things to make that city your own means so much to people when you put in all this effort to take it. And the way TW works, you take it and then you move on to the next thing. It shouldn't be like that. It should be like your house. You might have a city and a fort and maybe a village if you're a big house, but your goal isn't to get as many and to conquer everybody. It's to take a small area of the map and make it profitable, and then you might get attacked for it.
Yeah.
Like that, in my mind, that's a much better style of thing. Like your city should become profitable. And I'll note, like, I've been playing a lot of New World lately off stream. It's just more of a just something I go and relax on. But I've done a few. They don't call it. I can't remember what they call it, but it's not territory war. But it's their version of it. And when you take a city as a house, you decide the taxes, where everything goes, what level your crafting stations are. You level them up, and then people come there, and every time they do a craft or something in your whole region, because you take that whole section for your faction, so that your faction benefits as well as you taxing everyone that comes in there, even if they're not in your house, and your house just builds up money, and you have an actual sort of reason to want to keep it
for having it. Yeah.
And you've got a reason to want to make it better for people to come there. No one's gonna use a tier 1 crafting station, but if you're the only house even with a tier 5 crafting station, people are gonna migrate to come over to you to use it. So with that being said, even the whole thing that moves us into sort of armor and gear sets and general crafting and stuff like that.
Before we move on,
yeah,
you've actually reminded me of an idea.
Okay, no, far away.
2 or 3 years ago for TW, and it's actually something I haven't thought about it freaking ages.
Okay, yeah, far away.
Said that. I came up with an idea where it was depending on your house size. So you could go off and capture as many fiefs as you want. So if you say you've got a house, you've got 50 people in it, the 50 kind of regulars, all the rest of it. Actually, yeah, you can go off and storm and take 6, 7, 8 different fiefs. The system I actually thought about years and years ago, and I chucked it around the content creator Discord and all the rest of it at the time. Everybody that was there at the time said, yeah, so sounds like an absolute banging idea. So after a certain amount of fiefs, you get a percentage chance of where they could rebel against you because your house isn't actually big enough, or you haven't got enough people in your house to quell all the rebellions in your fiefs. So the idea I had was, as a house with up to 100 people, if you had 100 people in it, you could hold 3 fiefs, city, fort, village, doesn't matter, but 3 fiefs, 100% chance of no rebellion. Every fief after that third one you had, it would go up in intervals, so you'd have like a 15% chance of it rebelling.
And would this be
25? And what would happen is every TW, you would hit that kind of, it's a bit of a dice roll.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more fiefs you got, the higher chance they're going to rebel. But what would happen is, if they did rebel, you would actually have a time limit as a house to go in and quell that rebellion. And if you didn't, it would transfer over to the AI.
I like that. I like that a lot. And that's a really, really good idea to keep things fresh and moving.
Yeah. Because at the time, I think the reason I thought about it was because NA in particular had just a super alliance that literally took everything and anything. No one could fight him for it. No one could take anything. So it was a system that I thought about.
With this current system we've got, that sounds perfect to keep things.
It stops super alliances. It stops massive houses taking everything.
When you're saying that with the uprising, I think there should, the one thing in this game that we will get into actually. PvE is kind of dropped off massively, but what would be cool from what you just said there, add this into a case that when you take villages and stuff over the amount that you've been saying, not just that happens, but also AI attacks happen on your thing. So it might give you a day's notice. It will be like, come do this, and they're not particularly hard, so you don't need all your house to turn up. But if you don't turn up to it during the week, this is out of TW time, your house starts getting attacked by AI, your castle, your city, whatever, and so you just need a few of you to go over there, and it means we're making the open world do something again. So you see bandits roaming.
It's making sure people are playing as well, doesn't it? Because if you know there's a chance that you're going to lose your fiefs during the week outside of TW.
Yeah, I think it's and you can make them hard, depending how many. If your house has a lot of land, like you said,
I say all the fief level.
Or the fief level, they become hard. There's some, just use some decent AI, and then it gives you a day's notice. It says in 24 hours, the bandits are going to be attacking your thing. And maybe you make it a bit more friendly than that you say you can start this whenever, but it's got to, if you don't start it within 24 hours, it'll be taken.
It will take,
So you can go to your sheriff or something. And
there's so much potential for systems like that they could put in place, which would just, it would freshen up the game massively. I think that not only changing all those kind of systems, but I like really like the new world idea of yours as well, where I think personally there should be still the capitals. Capitals should be capitals, whatever. Forts should be forts, but I think every thief should start as a village. Your house goes off and takes it, and then with the amount of
Yeah,
taxes and stuff and crafting that you do, obviously, then you can level it up to a city after, I don't know, thief level 5 or whatever. But there can only be a certain amount of cities in a region,
yeah,
so that would really kind of reward play and grind in the game as well.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I think, yeah, it's just something that it needs to happen. You need to have a reason to want to do it. And at the moment,
Yeah,
that's kind of the reason why I stopped, is because we were going from city to city to city. We'd take a cool looking city and be like, wow, okay, this looks cool. And then suddenly we'd be moving on somewhere else. I'm like, why are
yeah.
we moving? Why are we not defending this?
I mean, at the minute, it's just a play for prestige to have enough to take a capital. That's all TW is about nowadays,
Yeah,
and it's a shame because every thief that isn't a capital gets neglected.
yeah.
Like, when was the last time you went over to, I don't know, some random city like Fashegi or to Borivar?
No, exactly.
You never do.
You kind of
There's no
stay
one
in
there.
capitals, don't you?
Yeah,
Um,
there's no point in going to these places, which is a real shame because,
it is.
like,
It was unique. It's unique city designs. It's just,
oh,
you know,
massive. Yeah, like this is how like the way I see this is kind of how the maps and stuff are made. Actually, the maps are very fair. Outside, like the whole outside map, I think is very fair. There's no real kind of you take this region and you've definitely got it. Like I think everything's susceptible to kind of being attacked and taken. It just it's such a shame that it's such a great system, but they're just wasting it. I
yeah.
feel
Oh,
personally.
so do I. I think the foundations of Conqueror's Blade are like some of the best game foundations in terms of what the idea of the game is. Like I always say this with this game, playing something like Rome Total War or something, where you're looking from above, you're looking down on your units, and you're like, oh, look at that cav charge, and you're seeing it from above, and you're like, damn, I'd love to be in that. I'd love to be down there with them.
Yeah,
And this game is essentially that. You are the hero on the battlefield with your units. And I thought that when I started playing this game, that was what I found so cool about
yeah,
this game.
yeah,
And it takes a new player a little time to get used to it. You know, they figure out very quickly, or they don't figure out quickly enough, that you're 50% hero, 50% unit, or probably even more unit than hero a
yeah.
lot of the time. And just getting used to that can be a bit jarring. But once you do it, you will end up having a much better time with this game.
Oh,
But
definitely.
if we're going to move on to another subject that I was about to get into, that
Yeah,
is
sorry, but
no. If you've got more to say about stuff, just jump right in. Gearing, right? So obviously, as I said, been playing a bit of New World lately, where gearing is abundant. It's almost too much. There's just
yeah,
the most ridiculous amount of armor thrown at you. It's a different sort of game, but from all the MMOs and stuff I played, this is I love sort of min-maxing and having a working the way up sort of system. And granted, obviously we have the RNG roles for gear that you could class as it, but it's kind of dull. And I really like what they did with the epic schematic sets, but I feel like there should be almost a better progression of gear
yeah,
sets, or just something to work toward that isn't pay. There's no real money thing. It's not in you don't get them like epic schematics from something. You actually work your way and earn them. You earn this kind of,
I think they're
or craft it,
personally,
or crafting
I
potentially.
do the how they've done the armor, the stats, and everything in this game. I think is very, very good. And I think the reforge system is one of the best
Like
things
the
they've put
Reforge,
in.
but I will disagree with you with the stats. Only on weapons though.
Okay.
Because you have more with 2 stats. You've got like other things with 4 stats, and you've got other ones with 6 stats to roll on their weapons. I know you can roll extra
Yeah, yeah,
strength, agility, toughness, that sort of thing. But Maul, if you want to roll a good Maul, you roll once, you get one of your big stats, you lock that stat, you roll again until you get that. And basically, you're far more likely to get, well, you can just cap out your two best stats pretty much straight away, and then everything else you're working with is toughness, armor, agility, strength, crit, whatever. So you don't really have to worry too much. Where like if you're rolling dual blade spear, you've got 6, and it feels terrible to roll an epic schematic and get blunt penetration and blunt damage.
Yeah, I think the RNG on the rolling is
the RNG is hit and miss, but it'd be nice to be an even playing field. Like what I'm saying is, like Glaive right now, you got 4 stats, right? 4 things on it.
Yeah.
So what my idea would be to take 2 away from all of the things with 6, take them to 4, and add 2 random useless ones like piercing pen and piercing damage to Maul. Bring them up, and then we have a fair system all across the board. We have 4, 4, 4, 4 the whole way, and if we're still sticking with RNG, then you roll, and it's a much fairer system.
Yeah, you keep going until you get something decent, don't you?
It just means
that everyone else
is in the same boat. We're all in the same boat with rolling.
One thing I do want to add in terms of the armor and weapons, I really do wish they would put more in. I do wish they put more in, because right now it just feels like you're either light, medium, or armor or heavy. Like I know the Glaive and I know a few other weapons. Their epic armor set is just not viable.
Oh, you mean like an epic schematic set?
Yeah, so have more, but for different styles of play.
Yeah. I see. This is what I was going to say. Is potentially you could add another system if they didn't want to change the gear, but you could do something like Enchanting.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, where it's a real thing to base your gear towards your game play, your game style.
Yeah.
I think would be, so if you're a Glaive that wants to go in for the old Glaive style of glass cannon, then you can go straight, you can go much more into that. But you have to make it almost to the point where it's a give-take system. So if let's say there was one where you can put enchant your boots with 2% more damage, you would also take 2% more damage.
Yeah.
So you make the whole thing a give and take system, but you can alternatively, with not so much penalties, go down the defensive. So like you take 2% less damage, but you do 1% less damage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you could sort of find a way to even it out, but then you could put some cooler effects. That was just an example. You could put way cooler stuff, like, after doing a certain, let's say you do 3 auto attacks with your clicker, you gain a 15% damage buff to then unleash your Flying Reaper.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? You could add extra things in that you can chain. So you go 1, 2, 3, then you get this buff for your Flying Reaper. So the next Flying Reaper you land will just do KO damage.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that's how I feel the runes. Like I know.
Well, the runes have just changed into nothing, really, haven't they?
I was going to say that this is how it felt to me, like what the runes were originally set up for, but they've just kind of like hit the wall.
Well, the runes are just extra strength, a bit of defense, and
it's nothing special.
They
used to be though.
Oh, they used to be. Like, what I think runes were is what the hidden effect of them was for the devs to test what they could do to improve classes. So like if you look at what Maul and stuff like that have got that were runes, some classes have got stuff that were runes a while ago. So like for example, the newest one is Dual Blade. We had 25% extra range on our Shuriken toss. That I'm going to say it right now. I know I'm a Dual Blade and I play it main. Should never have been added. It is really toxic. If it was a rune, that's fine because it's only around for a season. But 25% extra yardage on your throw. I mean, I can't
make much of a difference, does it?
Yeah.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, it does.
I haven't played Dual Blade for like 3 seasons.
No, so. it makes a difference. It's kind of not what Dual Blades were asking for, if I'm honest. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining because I enjoy throwing my knives out, but it's kind of what you're stuck doing. You just kind of stand there throwing knives where you'll see like a poleaxe or a longsword dive in there and belly flop and then get involved in it, and you'll kind of feel like you're out on the outside. Where our original use was we'd go stealth, hunt around the map, and we'd actually be able to take people that were out of place without their unit.
Yeah.
And since Shuriken's become the power, it's not so much that Shuriken's like ridiculously powerful, it's that it's more powerful than Infiltrator, and our ambush doesn't do any damage. So if we took Infiltrator, that's a 39-second cooldown. So if you miss with Infiltrator, landing a an ambush that's going to do 2,000 to 3,000. It's where ambush back in the day was way too strong, but then there was the kind of mid-range nerf. After the first nerf, it did about, I don't know, 7k, 8k as an initial ambush, and then you would go like, you would do your full assassination kind of thing, and then you would run off. And that's if they were out of place with no units, and it was a kind of the indicative playstyle, and now we're just kind of, I don't know, we still do good, and we're up there in probably the strongest classes at the moment. But you know, I would like to see more. Well, we'll get into what classes we like, weapons we like to see buffed, but yeah, essentially.
Just staying on classes quickly though.
Yeah.
Do you think they're utilising classes as kind of how they should be?
No, not at all.
Making classes different.
Not at all. If we're moving on to the, I mean, if I finish up on the enchanting, but anyway, I'd like to see more gear diversity.
Yeah. Definitely. I think bring the rune system back in properly.
Like crafting, I'd like crafting to actually be not just Carnifex Rogue and Guardsman.
No.
And epic schematic sets. I'd like it to be like
have some
4 or 5 different sets. You know, just so you can, and they're all top tier sets, but they all do different things. Yeah. That would be quite nice.
That's like a damage heavy set or an armor set. Or
and that would also mean that I think epic schematics shouldn't be as hard to get as they are. They should be. They should drop a lot more often. Like I've had one.
I don't think I've ever had one drop.
Have you not had one? I've had 1.
5 years of playing, I don't think I've ever had one drop from Siege.
See, that's ridiculous to me. You should have had it like 100 in 5 years.
I'll definitely tell you, I've never had any from Siege. Obviously, I've had them from events and different other things, but as far as I can remember, I've never had one drop from Siege.
Yeah, see
I've
there's
never sold one at least.
There's your problem.
Would have been a Siege one.
So, yeah, I mean that's an issue, like a problem straight away. But if we're moving into weapons, and this is a big one, this is a big topic. Weapon-wise, you asked me if they're utilising them. They're absolutely not. There is so much stuff in weapons that, how many alts are completely useless in this game that no one uses? You know, I would almost be for a season where they don't release much at all, but they just go through all the classes, all the weapons, and not one by one, because everyone gets irritated when they do it one by one. You know, the last buff for weapons was dual blades and short bow, tiniest amount, and I'm like, have you not looked at the bow right now? Like, it can't do anything. Or looked at the spear. Like, don't get me wrong, the spear I know is on Frontier is used a lot, but it's not used here. And it's spear players will tell you it's like they need something. And there are so many like useless abilities that could be changed up. You could change them up, rework. Like spear, for example, needs a whole rework with how animation lock the whole thing is. It's not fluent, and all you have to take a look at is things like chain dart, pike, maul, that have all been made really fluent and really modern. And you can see the age of spear and probably glaive in a way. You can probably
glaive falls into that category as well. Like I think apart from a couple of weapon classes, I think realistically it's like every other skill. So 1 out of 2 skills for every weapon class I think are useless personally on our version of the game. So Frontier does play differently, but our version of the game we play a lot differently compared to Eastern players.
Yeah, it's it is with, like, let's take range for example. How many more people would play range if their POV was not completely awful?
I've admitted it several times. I would probably main musket.
Yeah,
if the
exactly.
POV did not zoom in.
Now, I can't see an issue whatsoever with them moving the POV back. Like, we have it, like when you're outside of a siege and you're wearing a bow or whatever, you have normal view. You can zoom right out, you can zoom right in. Just do that. I don't think this is a game where you play with units. How is it beneficial to be staring through the back of your head?
Well, precisely. And to be fair, the people that want to still do that can zoom in anyway.
Yeah, that's... So, do you know, I said it on stream once. I said, I really want the POV to be really far back. And they said, no, I don't. I like it where it is. I'm like, just zoom back in. It's like, can we not just have the option?
Yeah.
Like,
You've got the option to zoom in. We haven't got the option to zoom out. That's the problem.
That is one of my biggest things I'd want to see for range. We'll get on to what I want to get into, like the bow and short bow and stuff like that, and how I think those bad boys need to be changed.
Yeah.
But the the POV is number one for range, because we're very likely at some point to have a crossbow or another range class brought out at some point.
Yeah,
it feels like we've almost got time. I know they're sort of trying to duck range classes, from what it seems to me. They're really trying not to go down that path, and that's because obviously there's an issue that you don't want a longbow to be super powerful and just be standing there taking out everyone's troops.
Oh no, which
no one wants that, but there is
it needs to be viable.
There's no viability to it, and personally, you don't have to give it the best damage in the world, but you need to increase that rate of fire that it can do. If you like I'm going to take again. I take a lot of stuff that New World has done right, especially with the weapons. The bow. Does anyone actually use the right click on bow? Right, like it's the little knife stab. No one uses them. Same with short bow. Maybe a bit more musket. Musket would probably it does do the knocking around bit a bit more. But for example, on New World, whenever you press the right click, it does it zooms in, so you can properly aim. Your character gets blurred. It goes around the back of the head. If you ever search New World bow content, you'll see it's they do that, and it goes directly how the POV is now, and then you let go of it and it zooms out and you can still fire. So you can just if you really need to get an accurate shot in, you can zoom in slightly. And I feel like they should kind of adopt that system with the bows. But what do you think?
No, I'm in total agreement with you. I think ever since I've played, to be honest, the range, not the musket kind of falls out of this, but definitely the short bow and the long bow have always suffered.
Yeah.
To be honest, and like you said, I don't think there's no benefit to making them powerful where they can literally stand back at the opposite side of the map and just shoot. Totally, I think they should still be mid kind of range of the fights and everything, because else they're going to be too OP. But there's so much stuff you can still do with it.
It's just when you've got a game with the meta at the moment is a lot of shielded units.
Yeah.
And you're a bow, and you're just I played short bow for one game a few streams ago. I played short bow at the start of last season. And it was fine because the meta wasn't full men at arms and shields and everywhere and whatever. But now you try and play it, and you just hit ting, ting, ting everywhere, because you cannot land anything because there is units with shields everywhere.
Yeah.
And the way to sort that would be tricky, 100%, especially for bows. I mean, I know they get on the horse at the moment and do that. I mean, especially when you actually see a bow. But maybe last season when they actually had some hero killing capabilities. But they definitely need to look at it. I mean,
it would be great for them to release a graph or a chart of just how much each weapon class has played.
Yeah,
I think all of us could probably predict exactly how that chart would look. But it would be useful to have something official like that.
Yeah,
then it would just prove the point that certain classes just need to be fixed. The other thing I'd do with bow, thinking about it, is so if you do a quick shot with a bow, you'll hit about 40. If you just tap, it's does this really right, it hits nothing, and then you do a full charge, and let's say it hits 1,000. You need to be able to make those quick shots more viable. The damage drop off should not be that huge between the top charge and the bottom charge, and also I think they're scared of doing do little buffs. 10% here, 5% here. Yeah.
If something's not working or something's too strong, let's take more, for example, dual blades, because I don't want to be called a hater of a singular class, but let's take dual blades. Let's say we're doing too much damage. Just go 5% off 1 week. Test it out, see what we're doing. They're still there. 5%, another 5%. Just keep little, just bite away at it every week.
No picks.
And then, then suddenly you hit a good ground where it's okay, they've hit the perfect spot. Oh, Glaive's not doing enough damage? 5%. 5%.
This kind of comes into something else I said years and years ago, though. But I personally, I'm of the belief of, unless something is super, super broken, then nerf it. I'm personally of the belief of just buff everything.
The problem is...
Stop nerfing. Once you start buffing stuff in small increments, like you're saying, eventually everything will hit that same level.
Problem is a lot of work to buff everything up to maul.
There is, but there is. But if they want to keep them all as it is, you're gonna have to buff everything rather than nerfing more and nerf this, nerf that, and people don't like nerfs.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree.
people
I do
just
agree.
don't.
It doesn't feel good, does it, when you go on a
No,
class and it's like suddenly you be nerfed? No, I
it's
think.
like season 8 for the glaive. Like
Oh wow, that
the
was a big
glaive
one.
was, the glaive was always considered the most balanced class in the game. 8 seasons, it did not have a buff, it did not have a nerf, it did not have any balance changes whatsoever.
I still remember being one
Season 8,
shot.
we had a 50% nerf
It was
out of nowhere.
massive. I remember one day I went to a game and there was 10 glaives. The next day I logged on and there was about one.
Yeah,
It was
and
cool.
since then we've had at best a 20% buff, which I just play it because I'm just pure lazy and can't be bothered learning anything else.
Oh, I
Basically.
struggle as soon as
But
I get my teeth into one class. I'm very find it so difficult to change to
see,
something else.
yeah, but it's such a shame because I still to this day don't know why that happened. Why the most balanced class in the game had an
I
absolute
think.
nerf
Do
overnight.
you know what, Coffee? If I think if they put it back now, I think it would seem even more balanced than it was then.
Yeah,
You know, because there's
yeah,
so many people are better at playing the game. I think the issue was people weren't that good back then. Like you got stunned by a glaive, you're just people standing there and then just receiving the flying reaper to the back.
yeah.
And it's like actually people are a lot better than that now. They save their get up from concuss and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They use it at a better time. Like I very very rarely nowadays get hit by a glaive's flying reaper because I just know it's coming as soon as I'm stunned. Unless I haven't
Well,
got my
that's it,
stunner
and that's
cooldown, I'm out of there.
Yeah, and then that's like any game, isn't it? Once your game awareness and knowledge has increased, you know when to save certain skills for. But new players, and I'm not having to go at new players because they're new. Like I'm not going down that path at all. But I'm saying, just because a new player doesn't know when really to use their skills or when to save them, does not mean a weapon class should be nerfed because of it.
Yeah.
It's you've just got to learn the game. Once you do, then yeah, like you said, you'll know when to use it, when not to. But I think we went through. It's not happened for a while, but we went through a period where it was nerf after nerf after nerf for everything, and the sentiment among the community at the time was just, this isn't what we want. We want stuff balanced, but a weapon class I've been playing for a year, 2 years now is not totally like isn't viable at all. I'm going to have to go and learn something else now. That's not what I want to do.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. I think, what would you... so this is purely based for you. What, Glaive obviously being your main class, you don't want to change to anything else unless they must get a better POV. What would you do to Glaive if you had the choice? What abilities would you remove and replace them with?
I'd I'm not going to say this just for Glaive. I'm going to say this for every class. I think every class needs to have a hero line and a unit line. And you can chop and change in terms of the skills and stuff. So Glaive, for example, obviously Flying Reaper, massive big hero killer.
Yeah.
Hail of Blades, it's just not viable because you get knocked out of it if a sudden gust of wind happens, so you get knocked out of it. But Hail of Blades, if it was done properly, that should be one of the top unit killers in the game.
Well, that sort of reminds me of that Hail of Blades looks something that I used to play in Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah.
You remember? I saw lots of abilities like that. But
this is what I mean. I think every class, unless say it's Spear, where one of the skill lines as such, the 4 out of the 8 skills or however many it is, they're more kind of tailored towards horseback, say for Spear. Whereas most of the other classes, you could play them as either hero killers, unit killers, or a hybrid of both.
yeah.
I think that's the way they need
No,
to go with
I would agree. I would also add to that I think every ultimate, and obviously Mauls are the exception to this with their spin to win, but I think every ultimate should almost have a stun resistance to it.
Yeah.
It's an ultimate ability. That's it's your Kamehameha, it's your big move, and it feels awful when you can't get it off. The only thing, obviously, we've got chokes, but chokes are a different
I would
matter.
say I wouldn't be happy with 100% stun resistance, but I would be happy
Maybe
with like
concuss?
75%.
Maybe a chance. You could do a chance on it. You could have like a
so 75%
chance that you'll resist
stun resist.
Yeah.
So in that rare time, yeah, you can still get knocked out of it, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
out,
No, I
one
could
out of 4 times.
add a little bit of RNG to the to if you're gonna get
Yeah.
gonna get stunned or not on that one. But yeah, just I mean, we say that, but then we're looking at Mauls running around with a 12-second cooldown that has
obviously
complete
he's
immunity.
looking at.
That if I've always said this, I've said if Maelstrom was an ultimate ability, I would have no issue with it at all.
Yeah.
Being that, but it is basically an ultimate ability you can use every 12 seconds. I just doesn't compute with me why it's got thing. I'm not that bothered about it right now. I just tend to stay away from them and just throw shit at them. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's definitely a rework. Like in my eyes, I think there's probably 80% of the abilities of Spear need to be reworked. Like for example, one of the Dragon's Roar. That's one of the only ultimates in the game that can be blocked. You can put up your shield and it goes against your shield. No. Like, which other one does that?
I don't think any ultimate should be able to be blocked.
Yeah, it's and both of their abilities is it Dragon Heaven's Fury? It's an ability where you want to do damage to people, but it pushes them away. Like, it doesn't make any sense. That I just said this on the stream. That should be changed to a similar to their kick with a spear, but it should have a chain on it. So similar to how chain darts pull themselves towards you, you should kick your spear at them. They get stunned, and then it pulls yourself towards them.
To them, yeah.
I think would be a really cool. You could combo that with something, and you should be able to almost that changes to a spear throw when you're on your horse.
Yeah.
So you kind of got the two, and then you'd need to rework Dragon's Fury because no one would ever go for Dragon's Roar. If that was the thing, you need to make that viable in some way.
But then that would be if they reworked it so I can't remember the first one you just said, but the first one's the hero killer, the second one's the unit killer. Because you'll always have people playing classes differently, and
100%. You want them to do that.
Playing them as a unit killer or as a hero killer. I personally would always play as a hero killer.
Well, I get that.
Lackluster to unit killing, but I can totally get if someone picked up, say, the glaive. If the Hail Blades was actually worthwhile and it was a really good unit killer, I could totally understand why someone would pick up the glaive just so they could slay hundreds upon hundreds of units.
Yeah, and they probably see Arc of Steel and like, yep, that looks great for killing. Yeah, But how would you feel about maybe this would be an easy way to not an easy way to sort it, but abilities having their own trees?
I think
So you could go down. I don't know, shield breaker, let's say, breaker of shields for you, and you could just kind of choose where it, like, extra, you know how, like, sometimes abilities say click it 3 times to do this? Yeah. So those 3 times could change where you go down this tree.
Okay, yeah.
So you could, I mean, they would never do this because it'd be way too much work, but yeah, you could. Some abilities even say 5 times click to get them to do all the extra things they do.
Bits. Yeah.
But yes, you could change the little extra bits, similar to like how Pike changes what it does. But this would be obviously just set in one ability. So you could go, okay, so we're going to start off with shield break. So you swing your thing that does AOE damage. Then you go into a single target, or do you want to go for another sweep? Do you know what I mean? You could really customize your abilities in Arc of Steel. Arc of Steel, you could
go one or the other.
You could change Arc of Steel into having 1 large swing, but then 2 really big hit downs for single target damage.
Yeah,
like that's what I'm talking about. You could, instead of having to design whole new abilities, they just have to design different segments
of rework.
Yeah,
just work off the ones already here. I mean, to be honest, like that's another thing I did want to say about the weapons. The skill trees, like I've maxed out every skill tree. I have almost 100,000 skill points.
Yeah, I got 100K.
Just sat, not doing anything. Like I think if they knocked up, like you said, not change them, not create anything new, but knocked up new skill trees just with mini nodes in.
Yeah.
And again, you could only go 1 or 2 ways. You can go more defense, you can go more damage, you can go more crit, you can go just slightly different ways to just really customize how you change and play.
It would be quite cool because at the moment, especially when you've been playing a while, you come across someone, let's say you come across a poleaxe or whatever, like I'm 90% sure what they're playing. Like the only thing I have to guess is Lockerbie Strikes or Rough Justice. and that's basically the same with every single weapon in this game. Once you learn what everyone else plays, I know you kind of can learn exactly what's coming, because there's only 4 abilities. But it'd be really nice to see like a glaive that's taken Arc of Steel that has totally put Arc of Steel into single target, so he does one big swing and then 2 like downwards hits. That maybe one of the choices is a knockback, one of the choices is a concuss. You know, just different. Like
just different things.
Different things.
Know, just to customize it, so every class, you've got your base level classes, but everyone plays them differently.
Yeah, and the amount of video content. Think of this, Coffee. The amount of video content you can make on different builds would be insane.
And every single build would be different.
Like you would be like making a guide on an uppercut glaive that's like one of its Warlord's Greeting doesn't Warlord downwards, it Warlords upwards and throws them instead of just concussing them kneeling in front of you. It knocks them away from you, like properly throws them back, like kind of like the Maul's Up from Hell, you know, where that flings people. You know, like that sort of thing where you've got that much customization where you can build like 60 videos on different playstyles of glaive from 4 abilities, just having different tech trees on each ability. It'd be incredible.
So much, and the thing is, the system's there. The system's already there. It's already built. There's 12, 13, 14 weapon classes already there, ready for this. And you just got to like knock up a few different skill trees.
The abilities could change animations as well. Like there was a dual blade skill back in the day that used to do like I don't even know how to describe it. Like what's her name in Avengers? Black Widow sort of leg sweep thing where you know, where they go around the neck and fling the person. There was that for dual blades back in the day. I've seen a video of it, and like you could have a tech tree where you change, I don't know, like your Great Thunderbolt changes into that leg's head swing. Or your marked, not marked for death. Mate. You change your marked from death into marked from death to death from above, where you jump on their back and it's a reverse maul. So you start stabbing them through the neck, but they can control where you are. You know, they've got a slow on them, but you're on their back, like doing massive damage. Different things like that. Like it would just be so unknown of what everyone's doing, and I don't know. I'd be happy with that. But we will move on to a different topic that is battle, like signing up for sieges, different battle modes.
Ooh.
Yeah,
we already had a chat about this.
Well, this is what I wanted to get into. I've been waiting for this. Why I didn't want to go too much into it on stream.
I think at the minute sieges are good. However, it's the only game mode. Like other than death matches and other than the free battles that are only twice or 3 times weekly, whatever they are. See, it's sieges. Like
you just siege.
You said on stream just now, field. Like how long did it take you to get into that field? 6-7 minutes, and that was asking
everyone on the server to join. And look how much fun we had in it. I know that was probably the worst field map, but look how much the different of gameplay that we played right there.
It's different, isn't it? It's a bit of variety. Like the sieges, all of the maps nowadays, I think the siege is very good. However, once you play, any more than 3-4 months, you've played them all.
And also when you're trying to stream or when you're trying to do anything, once I get to about the 5 siege mark, I've done 5 of them. I'm trying to find things to do past it, because it is just the same thing. You get in, you push your towers, or you wait for them to push their towers. You do that. You might have a good siege, and that's great if you have a good siege. But let's say you take that one outlying amazing siege that you have out of there. It's the same thing. You come out, you maybe have 60 kills, 70 kills. You've died 3 times or 2 times, and it's been exactly the same as every other siege you've had. Where like we joined one field battle that with me asking everyone, 50, 60 people in stream to join, and all of the extra things like that, and that was really diverse, really fun. You'll probably see a video on that. I took a video while I was doing that. So, but nonetheless, I think we need more game modes, and we need incentives to go do dead game modes.
Yeah.
As you were saying, so you go on, because you said the same thing that I remember from World of Warcraft, where they would have sign up for random battle. Basically, they would you get more rewards, and you'd use that. The game, whoever developed this game, uses that to fill out dead game modes or game modes that have less people.
I mean, there's a game I play with my boy on Switch, which is like the sports game. And what they do is they have there's like 6 or 8 different sports, and what happens is every day they'll pick 3, which they give like random rewards for.
Right.
In total, like double the rewards. So it's always like making you play different sports. But what they also have is just a random, which will put you into any of the sports, and you'll get double rewards for that as well. So
Right.
you're still getting the rewards for the game. So if you just wanted to play, say, golf, but golf wasn't one of these bonus games, you still get the rewards for it. But if you wanted to, you didn't want to, or you weren't bothered,
Yeah.
because actually you can sign up for 3 at a time. So you could sign up for, say, golf, you could sign up for tennis, bowling, and it would then just populate you into the first game that comes available. I think that would be useful as well in this, if they built that out, this match.
I think that would be like immensely useful in the terms of, it means they could add extra game modes. Like I've always wanted a game mode similar to like field battle, where you've just got the kind of domination points or whatever you want to call it. But with a field map in the middle, or 2 field maps and a big map, and 2 castles, and you spawn with your team in the castle. But you can choose if you attack or defend. You just either stay there, or you go out into the middle and you start taking points.
Kind of similar. Have you ever played the Emerald River?
No.
Match?
No.
That's very similar to that map.
Yeah,
here,
okay.
Where they've got the big bridge in the middle over the river, and they've got a fort either end. And literally, it's a point on the bridge, as far as I remember. Point on the bridge, point like on the right side, left side. And then you can storm each other's forts as well. It's kind of like 3 battles, but it's such a good map. And
do you remember the one where you push the boat?
I haven't played it. Oh, Push the Boat was amazing.
That was so much fun. Enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, really good
like,
map though.
The other one I would love, that I really want, another thing I would love to do is custom game modes to have more control, so I can turn off the timer, especially for making videos would be far easier, and doing transmog comps and that sort of thing. But I'll get into that in a second. The other game mode that I really would like is you join with a 3-man team in a very large map. This is basically Battle Royale, but with 3.
Okay.
So you join in 3 men. There's obviously everyone joins around the map somewhere. You join in with either, I haven't really thought too far into it, but either you join in with your units, or you open boxes and you get given units as you go around. And then it's just, as they do in a Battle Royale, the circle closes. Just a fun game mode like that. Something where you're in a team, 3 of you survive. You can revive each other if you die. But that and there's a castle in the middle. There's like different points of interest going on. But the circle eventually closes down. That I think would be quite an interesting little game mode to have.
Different.
It'd be different. Yeah. Do you know what, Coffee? That's the main thing I'm looking for. I want to be able to go on stream and be like, right, what should we do today out of all of these amazing different things? Instead of being
I'm looking at the matchmaking screen now, and in the PvP you've got Siege or Field Battle. Like, Field Battle's never going to happen, so it's Siege. Like, it's such a shame, because actually what I would like to see is, keep Siege, keep the Field Battle, but have a mini Siege battle where you've got like Helion Ford or Storehouse or Green.
Small Siege.
Smaller maps. So you've got, say, an 8v8 Siege. Instead of the 15v15, exactly the same with the fields. You could have an 8v8 field battle on the smaller field battles. You could
Realistically,
have a boss battle mode.
Yeah, we'll get into the PvE in a minute, because I do want to touch on that.
But you could do it so it was like PvP, PvEVP. So actually, you're all against a massive boss in the middle, but you're still fighting each other as well.
Okay, so similar to like the Tyrant. Thing. This realistically, this should be filled with game modes, and then they should just have a random sign up,
random button right at the bottom,
right next to or just above the join battle, and you
or every day as well. Like, the Siege is on bonus today, the field's on bonus, the boss battle's on bonus as well. But if you're not bothered about what you play, just hit the random. You'll get bonus for that anyway. And you'll get
an extra bonus for going random. And I think the bonus should actually be almost feel worth it doing it.
Because, definitely,
Because, I would love to encourage. It means Field Battle would never be dead. You would have... I would be clicking that button. If it was advantageous to me to get extra rewards...
I would always be pressing random.
And you know what? Rewards, if you actually gave, like, treaties and stuff like that as extra rewards... Like, people sleep on how important doctrines actually are. And... if that was one of the things you get 1 treaty, you get a bag of bronze and something else for signing up randomly, doing a random sign up.
Yeah.
I think that would be enough to inspire people to do it. Especially if you put a treaty in there.
You put a treaty, you put a few extra items, you do, I don't know, 1.5 times the amount of experience that you would get.
Yeah,
from,
more
say,
experience.
normal
That's
battle.
always a good one.
Like, that would encourage so many people.
It just means they could make any game mode they wanted and put it in there. I just think having 2 permanent game modes is not enough. I think we need 4 permanent game modes and then a 5th one that.
5 years in.
Oh, it's just stupid, isn't it?
A lot more. There should be a lot more in it.
Stupid. So that's what I'd like to see. The other thing I want to talk about is PvE. Because I think they were going somewhere with this that was quite good. That was defend and deploy, or deploy and defend. Yep. Right? I actually think deploy and defend they should have had 7 maps on a weekly rotation, and then you would never actually be back same map. They need to add the rewards they used to have, as well as keeping the supply system, because I'm going to give them credit. The supply token system, very good for casual players.
But it's such a pointless game mode. I haven't played it since it released.
No, I'm talking about. So they added the supply tokens, but what they did is they took. They took all of the rewards. So you used to defend and deploy to get your wisdom. You get like 8 common wisdom, and then you'd get two boxes of with potential green, blue, or epic wisdom. So you could only do 2 or you could do 1 a day, or they changed it to 1 a day. It used to be 2, but you did 1 a day, and that was the way you got wisdom. And then you did Mastery Commander, and that's where you got your things. Right? Don't get me wrong, Mastery Commander I think was terrible. That should have been what that should have been in my eyes was a boss fight, similar to the Scourge of Winter boss fight, where you sign up with 2 other guys or 1 other guy, and you 3-man a hard sequence of boss. And it could have been really fun. They give you a unit to use. So they gave us Lanchnecks when we used to do that in the Scourge of Winter. And you'd go in and you'd fight the boss. And the boss was hard. There was two bosses. If you killed the smaller boss, suddenly cav charges were summoned in, and they would charge back and forward. So you actually choose if you should take both of the bosses on at the same time, or have cav charges killing all your men. It was really, really fun, and so they could rotate bosses.
I remember it being really difficult.
It was difficult. I died a lot. There was actually a secret cannon in the corner that you could take him over.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, it didn't do a huge amount of damage, but if you had a longsword tanking him, you could use the cannon, and that was keep blasting him, and it was kind of away from the cav, but then they would kind of work their way over to you. It was really fun, and that was back then. So imagine what they could come up with now that would actually be fun boss fights. So that's what Mastery Commander should have been, and that's how you should get your Scrolls of Mastery personally. And they could change the unit you get to use. Like, they choose your unit every time. Every week they could change the unit and the boss, and they could have a rotation for that. Bandit Raids is a difficult one because it's the way you get things. I think Bandit Raid would probably just have to stay the way it is. I think they need some protection for newer players.
The Bandit Raids, I do actually enjoy the Bandit Raids, but only because it's changed from Siege for 5 times a week. So
it also gives a crazy amount of honor, a crazy amount of XP. Sorry, that is actually, it's really nice for.
It's kind of a necessity.
You feel I always say to new players, that's your main thing to use your things on. So that would probably have to stay the way it is. I think Expedition should be more storyline sort of battle.
Expeditions now is just dead, isn't it? Because it used to be Expedition 1, 2, and 3.
But there is Expeditions, isn't there, where it had a storyline where you got off the ship and you worked your way up a mountain. Like, take that, but actually make it hard.
Yeah, and again, have worthwhile rewards for it.
Yeah, have rewards. So, but I'd like to see them add the wisdom, and I want to see lots more defend and deploy maps on a rotation. I want to see, and I want to see Mastery Commander come back as boss fights, as like raid boss fights.
Yeah.
And then AI training, I guess, is just a game mode, just to have
going back to that Expeditions one quickly as well. You can put in those old maps like Push the Boat and stuff as well.
What for against AI?
No, against. To be fair, you could probably put this into the PvP
well,
as well.
The funny thing you say that, there's a lot of maps that you find in Expedition that you could make into that. You know, he's talking about that smaller map, smaller player modes.
Yeah.
Like the hill one, where you go up the hill. Why do we not have like a PvP game mode called Campaign?
just a 5v5 type thing?
Well, not even 5v5, but like that one, you start on there, and it's a long journey to get to the end point.
Yeah.
Why not have a campaign mode where you're against defenders, but like they do something with the leadership that your leadership gets reset at certain points.
Well, that's So
and so
I'm sure some people listening to this will know the rush mode in Battlefield, like
right,
the attackers push forward and push forward and push forward to certain points. That would work really well.
That would be a really cool, and I feel like it could be a real campaign. You work your way from the ship up the hill, over that bridge, over many more bridges, and then there's a little fort at the end, and that's where the final battle happens. I think that would be really a really nice game mode. You're putting artillery on one side of the bridge as attackers to like try and kill their artillery on the other side, and you wouldn't have to worry too much because you'd make the zones for the attackers where they get their leadership and their units revived. Not quite often, but often
in
enough.
Those zones as well, you can have the artillery already spawns in for them, ready to kind of go. So it's always quick and fast paced.
That could be really good fun.
And then the final fort you could have, which happened, I think it was last Halloween, where one of the defenders would actually become the boss of the level.
Yeah. I mean that. Who's becoming king?
Yeah,
I think
obviously the other 4 people, or whoever, or whatever amount, actually have to kind of bodyguard him and make sure he doesn't die.
Yeah, I mean that leads you onto another game mode, VIP, protect the VIP.
Yeah.
You've got to cart in from one side of the map to the other side of the map while being, that is awesome. Like I've always liked the idea of taking a field battle map and banning cav.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, how like they have those effects that stops you from using like ranged units. Like rain, wind, whatever. Why do we not have rain where that, like Agincourt, where the cav got bogged down?
Yeah.
Why did the cav not get bogged down? So your cav reduces speed by like 70%. So your cavs basically feels unusable.
Yeah.
For game modes, I think that'd be quite a good one to put into the rotation of that. If we're going to have the thing that stops you from using range, I think we should definitely have one of those to stop using cav. But I'd also like to see just in general a field battle that. Because I like the idea of, I did one sort of a stream where we just got in a custom battle and I made it muskets only.
Yeah.
So it felt like sort of Napoleon, the new film that's coming out, where you're on the battle, you've all got cannons, and we're roaming up with and we banned any sort of purple guns, no tier 4s. It was all blue, sort of Demise, Artibusius, and the green guns. That I thought it was so much fun. It felt really good. We were all setting up cannons, and it was like fire into each of these.
That's how people enjoy different modes like that. It's like the Prisoner and the Guards one that we had a couple of seasons ago. People were all over that. That was so busy as a game mode.
Yeah, I also had an idea for like 5v5. Like you're talking about Call of Duty, and there's that mode called Gun Game.
Yeah.
So you start off with one weapon, and you kill someone. You move to the next weapon.
Move on.
You work your way through. So another one I wanted was all v all. So they take a field map. It's all v all, and it's just gun game. You will start off as a longsword, let's say.
Yeah.
And then you work your way up, or you start off the best one. It'd be so funny. You all start off as longbow.
That's naughty.
I think how fun that would be as a game mode, just to go in there and the first one to reach Maul wins.
Just think you could do that with units though as well, couldn't you? Everybody starts with greys.
Yeah.
You get one kill, you move to greens.
Your unit just suddenly boom changes to greens.
Yeah. Because then obviously you want to progress quick, because if you can get up to tier 4, tier 5, and people are still on tier 1.
So those two game modes, we've just thought of two incredibly fun game modes.
This is another thing that I really wish the developers. I know they're very busy and they're doing all the developing stuff, but they've got we as especially content creators in our side of the community at least, like we're all so vocal about kind of what we want in the game, what we want to change, what we want to do. I wish they would just kind of come to us even once every quarter, once every 3 months, to say, look, what kind of things do you want us to start focusing on in the next 3 months or so?
Well, this is the thing where people are saying, I wish we had a roadmap.
Yeah.
So we knew...
Like, a roadmap every year would be really good.
And then we could add things to it. And, like, the reason why there are content creators, there's many guys that put in a lot of effort making content. It's because we really like the game and we can see a lot of potential. But if they do not listen in some stages and be like, hey, let's say you're listening to this podcast right and go, actually, that's a really good idea. The weapon game where you transfer or the units going up, changing from greys to greens, going all the way up. Like, that's really fun. Fun is indicative and it will bring players in. And they just at some point need to listen to the content creators or just the player base in general. Obviously there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of people that will instantly call to kill things and like do it, and that's not the way to look at it. That's never the way to look at it. There's, as you said with the nerfing thing, you should always be looking to improve, not nerf, and that is a good way to look at making these game modes, in my opinion.
I mean, because like now is I know why they've cut, say, all the expeditions down to just the one and all the rest of it, and they've cut out the Master of Command. I get the reason why they've done that, but cutting, you're not going to attract new people by cutting stuff.
No.
Like you've got to put new things in, and you've got to put regular new things in to attract people and keep people.
Yes, well. I think in terms, if we go to like a new player's sort of mindset. I did a video that was quite a long one on playing CB free to play, so no money spent. It was about, I can't remember, like 37 minutes long. It was quite long, but I was after 24 hours. I did it for 24 hours. I was mind numbed, and it might just be because I've played a lot beforehand, but for those 24 hours, I had no real players in my thing. The AI got better units and whatever, but it was just the same maps, the same thing. They need to make that new player experience like it is better. Yeah, it's like, and do you know the worst in coffee? They put new players on the same team, the real players on my team. They filled one team with new players, and the whole of the other team was AI. And this is
getting, that's no use.
This is getting on to like level 60, 70.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, can we not just... I don't mind AI, but let's take half that team and put it on the other side.
Yeah.
And then, I know someone said they do that, and I know they do, but like, you cannot leave it that long to do it.
No.
Like, full AI up to maybe 25, 30 max. But past that point, start just trickling players on the other team, real players, and you'll notice very quickly who the real players are, and then it becomes fun. It's just... It was not...
I know a lot of other games do that because it breaks the new players slowly into the game, so they're not getting their face smashed in by someone.
You would not want to put a new player in what we do, but
kind of get used to actually people play differently to the AI.
Yeah, and then eventually they hit like level sort of, let's say 100, and then they're in the battles with basically all new players, or as many as they can get in there, and that can stay around for, let's say, up to like 150, I'd say. And then this is what I'd do: is every third game trickle them into a big boy game.
Yeah.
And this happens all the way up to like 200, maybe 220, like quite far. But every 3 games they do, it puts them in a big boy game. So then they can really start experiencing it, but they're not getting too much of it.
Too much, yeah.
And that is what I would do, because then you're introducing them slowly, and by the time they hit, let's say, 220, then they get shoved fully into the end.
But then by that point,
they've seen it.
The change in game style.
They've seen the units they should be getting. They've seen what's going on, and they've had a long enough time to go, okay, those winged hussars look pretty good, or those iron reapers. They kind of get that experience. Yeah, they're going to get face rolled. It's just going to happen. But you cannot. None of us got better at this game by not getting one shot by something.
No, you have to learn it. It's exactly the same in every other game. I'm just going to use Escape from Tarkov as a prime example. Like, you go into that game, you spend 100 hours in that game, you still get one tapped.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, all right. CB is more forgiving than Tarkov. I get it, but if you really want to play a game, if you really want to learn a game, you've got to learn every aspect of it, and an aspect of that is getting face rolled.
Yeah, exactly. So. That brings me on to something. I'm just looking in the podcast questions that is on my Discord. That it hasn't got that many questions in the moment, but One of them is that I wanted to touch on, that I did touch on the stream, was All or Nothing. I have not a problem with All or Nothing. I have a problem with them hiding the seasonal skin behind All or Nothing.
Yeah.
All or Nothing is a really sweaty game mode, and yes, I'll make a valid point that people use it to test, if you're a new player, test units. But I don't think we could build something else for that pretty easily. That they get to try all these amazing units out and then figure out what they want to unlock on their challenges, or for your new developers out there, or what they want to buy. This is not a good one because people might take Madao or something like that are a relatively good unit, or whatever, a good unit, and they get run over by something because they get run over by an experienced player and they're just trying to test these units out. And all they're trying to do is get to the point of getting their box to get their new seasonal skin. And I just don't think it's a good idea to hide that skin behind it.
No. But then is that because they're concerned people aren't going to play that game mode if there isn't?
If that's your incentive for playing the game mode, if that is the only incentive, the reason why people are playing it, and I've spoken to a lot of people on stream, and it's about 90% of people say, I don't like it. It's because it's basically ranked without your units, is what it is. And if you want to play ranked, you would go and play ranked on the weekend. And sometimes you just want to come in the game and chill, but I also want to get my seasonal skin. So personally, I think the seasonal skin should be, I don't know, you could make a quest line. You could do something fun. A nice quest line for it, out in the open world. Use content.
Like an expedition.
A storyline, a boss.
Through the campaign.
Like, there could be, that you could use it to sort of make a storyline for the season. This amazing looking attire box that you're going to get, that you go through, like, talk to this guy that says, I need you to go and craft me this in this city. So you go out of your city, you go to some random city out in the world, you go there, you craft it, and then he might go, in this siege, there is a box that I need you to open, or a river where I dropped this amulet. And so you actually go into a real PvP siege, and just in the moat of one of the castles, attacking or defending, you dive down in there, there's an amulet to click on. You open the box. Like, you could involve all this content. It's very small content, and you can't really say that people get annoyed because I'm not putting the box in any place that they won't be able to get to.
No.
But it just involves actual siege into these storylines.
Into the campaign. Yeah.
Into a campaign for the season. You could have these season-long quests that you come to the end, that has catch-up mechanics. So, like, if you miss a bit of the season, you can easily catch up on it. It's not going to be that I've spent 10 weeks getting to the end of it. It's just a bit time-gated throughout the season. And then you come to, like, week 8, you do this one thing that's like, talk to this guy, blah, 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 bring him all the components, go to the smith, bang, you craft it, hand it back into him, there's your seasonal skin.
Tell you what, if the devs are listening and they need someone to write all these stories, I'm here. I'm looking for work. So
that's it. But like, that wouldn't take much, would it? How much would that take?
But this was one thing again that the seasons have really lacked recently, is they started doing stories of the seasons, which unfortunately you just had to sit and read it. But if you're actually doing stuff and experiencing the season story, like people would take so much more away from the seasons, because right now they do just feel like, oh, new season, okay, a couple new units.
It's battle pass. There it is.
Exactly the same stuff on it. Possibly a new skin. More about the antique skins at the minute. That's it. That's your season. Like, I remember the last couple of seasons I've done, the big like patch notes video that I've done for the season from the preview event. They've been like 8 minutes long.
It's really
everything.
Yeah, I remember I made the one showing like the skins and stuff, and I was like, well, that's a minute video.
That's it. You just, even making the video, you feel like this genuine. This surely cannot be everything that is coming.
Oh,
that we've all been waiting for.
I honestly, when you watch mine and your videos, there's a point in it where you can see us looking around, like, wait, where is? We've done. I've done the fame store. I've done the seasonal store. I've done the battle pass.
And it's such a. It is a real kind of disappointment, and it's so lackluster, unfortunately, the last few seasons. Because I remember the first ones I was doing, the preview event was a massive event, like absolutely loved it. I personally think it was a really bad idea handing it over to the CMs. Like,
Okay.
CMs, yeah, CMs are good. Like, I totally get it, and they are, most of them are pretty good, and I do like most of them, but they're not content creators. They're not kind of people that are here making videos, knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to keep people engaged, all the rest of it. They're community managers. They manage a community. They don't make content. That's not part of their job role. So, I like Bluntcast and Katie. Absolutely love them both. Like, genuinely love them both. But you could tell the first preview event they did, it was so difficult to watch. So difficult to watch. And I
From what
know they
point
were
they just
trying
they
their
didn't know what was
They
going
they
on,
just
or
didn't know how
I
to
haven't watched
talk.
it.
They didn't really know
You
how
probably
to
get
kind of
involved with those sort of
explain.
guys more than I do. I sort of
Yeah.
I sort of keep myself to myself with that. I make my content. I say hi every now and then, but
Yeah.
I'm very much my
I
own.
do talk to quite a few of them on a regular, to be honest, because it's something that I personally want to get into as a job role. So it's the reason why I talk to a lot of them regularly. But
Right, yeah.
I think even they would have admit, like both Katie and Blunt, right at the first preview, they definitely got better as the seasons went through. But the first one they did, it was very kind of tough because they didn't know how to really explain stuff. They didn't really know what people wanted to see either as well. I think because they're not both regular players,
Hmm.
they don't actually understand what people want to see. So they were focusing on the wrong things. They were focusing on stuff that people didn't really care about, and kind
Oh,
of
what
brushing over
when
the
looking through the
stuff.
battle pass and stuff like
Yeah,
that? Yeah, okay.
yeah. Which I think I'm not having a dig at them at all in the slightest. I think it was very unfair they were put into that position in the first place. I think the way the preview events were done before that, where we would just sit through a kind of Q&A with Drew, he would go through, say, the PDF of the new battle pass, of what was coming, etc., etc.
Hmm.
Then he'd have a bit of a Q&A session at the end, which it always turned into the same people asking the same freaking questions anyway, but that was just a bit of a meme in itself by the end.
Hmm.
But and then after half an hour to 45 minutes of that, everybody split off then and then just went and explored the preview event. I think
I like that.
inviting 200 odd players into the preview event, I think that's a very good thing. I think
Yeah.
that's a real solid step.
Well, content gets
So,
created straight away.
yeah,
I think I had my
yeah. So
my seasonal video out within about 20 minutes.
that's it. Because actually, with more players in there, you can get into the fights. You can actually test stuff. You can do this. So I think that was a really positive step in terms of the preview events. But handing it over to the CMs to kind of lead you through it, I don't think they even bothered the last one. From what I remember, I don't think they.
Well, I can tell you
doing a
this
preview
this
event.
season that we went. I don't remember seeing one, but this season that we're in now, I remember seeing the trailer for it, and I heard the voiceover sound like Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, go back and watch the trailer. If you guys are watching this, and try not to think of Optimus Prime when he's talking. Like the idea to go for that sort of voice instead of like I don't know some sort of British voice is beyond me. I knew I don't know why, I just knew this season was going to be disappointing because I don't know. I used the Zweihanders and I was like, okay, so these are just claymores with immunity. That obviously without the defensive buff. The only one that I was actually interested in that no one actually really uses anymore was the healing archers.
Yeah, yeah,
Because they were unique.
They were different. They're different. They were supportive. I think like even the alchemists, when you look back, and the bagpipers, they're really good units, but they're just not viable.
Well, I was
They're just
talking.
not viable.
We were talking about this sort of unit thing with on Templetar and Drayton's podcast, and they were. Drayton came up with a great one that was a deployable barricade unit.
So, well, talking about deployable barricades, this was originally an idea as season 4, season 5, and they had to poo-poo it in the end because apparently it messed with the game mechanics too much. But
Surely now where we are now in this
you would
age, you would think we
at
could
least
probably
the
do it.
TW fights, like this would give kind of the ranks of marshal and stuff actually something to do.
Yeah.
To prep your city for a TW. All right, okay, I can get it. 15 people deploying fences and barricades and sieges. It's
Yeah, but they can be
absolute
broken. So like if you charge Iron Reapers into them, they'll just blunt damage them down.
Yeah. But,
And that's a whole unit taken up. So
yeah.
like if that unit despawns, barricade gone. Is what I'm saying.
I can even understand if they didn't want it in regular sieges though, but there's no.
But like even with regular sieges, right? It'd be like imagine. Okay, they could say, yeah, we just don't want 2 people putting barricades up, or the attackers will never get there. Well,
yeah.
It'd be similar to putting. Why would you take 15 bagpipes? Because you're gonna lose. You've just got. Do you know what I mean? This is a unit that doesn't do damage. It just puts up a barricade. Maybe it can put a max of 3 barricades up. You start having 3 or 4 people with those, with a barricade that can be killed by bows and like muskets can chuck a grenade and kill them. You know, that sort of thing. If you have 3 or more people with them, you're gonna actually inhibit yourself more than help yourself.
Yeah.
So, but I like it because I'd love to make a video with just making a barricade city, just trapping someone in barricades.
Personally, I think if they did it, they would need to have a hard cap on it, though. So
probably.
Deploy, like,
there's a lot of things
at a time.
The other one we had idea-wise was a like a what's it called, a donkey with a cart.
Yeah.
That is a resupply cart. So you can't go up on the walls, but you go to a certain point with it. People can resupply on it, but then that runs out, and that donkey has to go back to the supply, grab more, and then take it back. I think would be
really good.
Another one to add in with the bagpipers, the alchemists, the healing archers, and now a supply donkey.
That would definitely be useful on certain maps where the supply point is so far away. That would be really...
Now, the reason why I make it a donkey is because you do not need people taking a resupply unit up onto a thing where Falcos are and just destroy all the towers in ranked.
Yeah.
And never need to go back in supply. But it means you could take the supply much closer to the walls or wherever you need it. And I think people would actually use that unit because they would see the value. If it's maybe not in normal siege that often, but in TW, I reckon one person having that would to resupply.
Well, it'll be a slow moving supply.
Oh, it'll be slow, but so it would what I would make it is maximum of 3 artilleries can be taken from it.
Okay, yeah.
So like 3 of your players can take artillery, but then it's out and it has to go back to resupply. It resupplies maybe 3 units of archers, or like let's say 2,000 ammunition or something like that. And it has maybe a cap of a healing function. You know, like how you when you got to think a unit come over when you go to the supply point sort of thing, or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't do a healing
75% or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Fully heal.
Maybe I wouldn't put a healing function in it purely because that's other units' jobs. This should just be to supply our arrows and falcos and anything like that, and then also 3 artilleries for people. But I don't know if you would allow people to change units from it. Maybe you could change units from it. Maybe with a cap.
I think even if you didn't, I think it would be useful for the ammo and the other stuff from it, the artillery and stuff. But
there's definitely things like that. That's a cool unit. That's a really cool tier 3 unit. For whatever season. That was my
useful.
That was my when I did the predictions video with the British season and then the Pirates. That was my first one of them for the sort of being the first British medieval season, was that we'd have a donkey and cart that was a supply unit. But then, so before we probably wrap this up, next season, I know I've seen your prediction of Egyptian.
Yeah, so it was. So I explained this in my video. The seasons are made roughly 6 months in advance. So I know that because I've kind of been told that. So obviously, the Egyptians was something that's been asked for a long time. Not as long as Samurai, not as long as like Templars and all the rest of it. But obviously, both seasons really have been not as what they expected. I think Egyptians, it's bit of a breath of fresh air in terms of the kind of units we got. We had a lot of kind of like Ottomans and stuff like that, which they were good back in the days, but I think Egyptians would change up things a little bit.
Curious what sort of units you would have for.
So I think definitely an archer unit.
Maybe a stone thrower. What about one of those guys with the sling?
Possibly a slinger.
But
I think it would definitely. Possibly, yeah, slinger I could see. Definitely a sword,
I
sword and
remember,
shield,
didn't they used to have a
kind of
unit
spear.
they called a jackal? It was like use two sickles, and I remember in Age of I used to play Age of Mythology,
Yeah,
and if you played Egypt, they had this jackal that wore like a it was a person, but he wore like a dog looking head, and he ran
yeah,
around with
yeah,
two sickles, and he could jump really high.
yeah. I
Um,
think you definitely have to have a sickle, kind of. I was trying to think of the word, but yeah,
I
definitely a
can't remember what the
sickle
actual
kind of
sword's called.
unit.
It's got its own name. It's not.
But they were very well known for being quite good composite bows. So I think you definitely have to probably have that as a tier 4. I would say. So I'd say a slinger is a tier 3, composite bow is a tier 4,
Yeah,
and then the sickles is tier 5. I think that would be really good. I don't think they'll bring chariots in, which
it's a shame, but I can see how that
would
would
be a
look
big
weird
thing.
going
But
upstairs
yeah,
if they
yeah, I
didn't
don't
do it
think that
right.
would overly work.
If they can't do elephants, I don't think they're going to do
No,
things.
no,
Even though I'd love to
they're
do it
not going to
because
try.
one of the ideas I had with the British season was let's get away from medieval Britain. Let's do like Boudica or Boadicea, whatever she is.
Yeah,
So like add another female unit to it that is 7 ladies on chariots with spears and
yeah,
javelins.
yeah.
That I think with the knives coming off the side of the wheels,
Off the wheels. Yeah,
that I think would have been a really cool take to kind of Brit. Well, it wasn't even called Britain. I don't know what we were called back then, but it was when the Romans were in this country.
yeah,
But yeah, I think Egypt is a good is a really nice idea actually. It definitely brings up some cool units. The
yeah,
other one I've heard that people would want that I think would actually get people quite hyped, that I think you said as well, was 300 sort of Spartans.
the old Greeks and
Um,
Spartans and
and
everything.
I had a
Yeah,
point with this that when they did season 10, that was a Scottish season, they just totally ripped off. The trailer was just Braveheart,
pretty right. Yeah,
wasn't it? We all knew it when we were watching it. We were like, and suddenly the longbows fire at him. They all go down. The bagpipes play. He gets up and is for it, and he runs at the things. And it was literally, Braveheart. That was great. And I think if they did a sort of a Spartan season, you could 100% just rip off 300 as
oh yeah,
the
definitely.
trailer, and
Yeah,
that would be it'd be really cool to have sort of that sort of unit. Uh, It'd be cool to see a shock troop come back into the fray. A shock troop may be built similar to how like shieldmanes are built, where you click a button, they change to a shock troop. You click another
yeah,
button,
yeah,
they change to a really heavily defensive line.
yeah.
Like I think that would be the way to make the tier 5 Spartans. They
I
can
mean, you
change.
can even I can even picture this now. Literally, dudes in gold helmets and red cloaks running
I,
around. Like, it wouldn't feel out of place in this at all.
it would be perfect. It would be absolutely perfect. But it's what you would do for like the tier 4 and tier 3. I know we all know exactly what the tier 5 would be. It would
Yeah.
get people so hyped.
But do you think they'll do that now? Or do you think they'll save that until season 20?
I think that
That's
honestly,
only 2 seasons
I
away.
think they'll save that until it's at the bitter end. That'll be their last.
That
like,
last kind of saving grace.
I think it would be a saving grace, especially if they released it with an equivalent weapon.
Yeah,
Because weapons get people back in this game. You know, if whenever they release a chain dart or the pike, that is always curious to me why we had a pointy stick and we released another pointy stick.
yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. When there's so many, like people have been asking for the flail, the crossbow, the great
I
sword,
would love a scythe. A
the
war
scythe, the scythe. Like
Like, how badass would that be?
it'd be so good. Like the missed opportunities we've had. The French season, no, sorry, the Scottish season with the claymores, we could have had two-handed greatsword. This season, we could have had a two-handed greatsword. The both Viking season, we could have had a either a two-handed axe or a dual-wielding axe, berserker.
Yeah,
They need to bring out more weapons. Like, there's only 4 skills. It's not like World of Warcraft where they need to balance
But-
multiple different specs with
Yeah.
20,000 abilities and balance all this to a finite against 1,000 other specs with 1,000 other abilities.
Yeah.
They have to balance 4 abilities, technically. Okay, there's more in the unitary, but the way the game's currently is, there's 4 abilities that are usable and the rest are basically not. So,
This is it. And I've heard in the past that they're reluctant to do weapons because they're a lot more work, but I can't really see them being that much more work than units, because units, like, you've got to actually make the whole kind of thing. You've got to animate the whole unit. You've got to do all their skills, veterancies, all that. with a weapon, you make the one weapon. That's it.
Well, and also, look, if you really must, take from other abilities, like their animations. So
Yeah.
imagine an animation with a greatsword. You take one of the, let's say you take one of the pike animations, you put a greatsword in its hand. It would look totally different to how the pike looks, if that makes sense. I wouldn't do that, but personally, you can take, for example, when I said about the spear kick, changing one of their ults to where you kick the spear with a chain on it and it drags you to, stuns the enemy and drags you to them, like pierces them. You're literally just taking the chain dart drag.
Yeah.
No one's going to really care. It just adds a new bit of flavor. You could take so many different ones as for the animations, so you don't even need to make new animations. You just need to make the greatsword work. Or
you use the existing and just modify them.
Don't you? Yeah, just modify it
to make a new one.
And they flare. So what weapon would you add?
I'd be war scythe or a javelin kind of class.
Javelin would be. I'd be so up for javelin.
I would love it, but if I could choose, I would always choose scythe. Always choose war scythe.
Like a Grim Reaper sort of thing.
Yeah,
that'd be sick with the current attires we got this season. Actually,
that's the thing. It would work so well with some of the skins and stuff we've got.
Well,
they were known to be used in war as well. So it fits with all that.
You know what I just said about the animations? The Arc of Steel.
Yeah, perfect for it. Just spin round in a scythe.
But it needs to be more impactful than Arc of Steel. Arc of Steel is actually.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I really miss Arc of Steel.
It's such a cool looking ability.
That skill
do you know the worst thing about this game is that all the cool looking skills just are terrible. Spear has multiple good ones that where you get up from Jaeger or whatever it's called, where you jump off the floor and you spin your thing and it looks incredible, but it's terrible.
Yeah, it's such a shame. Again, there's just so much potential here. To get people back into this game, not only do they need to advertise and market it properly, that's always been an issue, but they need to just have a total revamp of all the mechanics, I think. And I think with all the Project Nirvana stuff that they've recently done, I think now is the time to do it. Revamp TW, revamp all the world map, get more matches in, get more stuff in. We've got enough units, we don't need more units. Get more of everything else in at this point.
Look, mate, throughout this hour and 37 seconds, we've set the world to rights. We have, this is, they could take this into a boardroom, put it up on the wall, and go, let's just sit down for an hour and 30 minutes.
And listen, and just write all this out.
And
we've got
okay,
more, I'm sure.
There's we got many more. We could probably go on for 10 hours. But, out of just general, they could throw a lot of the stuff out that we said, but there are some definitely good ideas to keep players around and more fun.
And attract more.
Yeah, it's not anything that isn't possible. But look, we're probably going to end it there. Is there any final things if you want to jump in with?
Just one thing I do want to mention. I am planning on the 22nd of December, so in about a month, or probably less than a month when this video goes out, I am planning on doing a massive Christmas stream again. So there'll be giveaways, there'll be a lot of drunkenness, there'll be Conqueror's Blade quiz, there'll be a general knowledge quiz, there'll be custom game modes going off as well. I'll probably doing a 3 to 4 hour stream of it all, and everybody's invited. There will be giveaways for everybody as well. Hopefully drops will be on as well. I don't know if they will be, but they usually are around that time. But if you are looking for a good Friday night Christmas time kind of stream on Conqueror's Blade, I am planning on doing a massive one on the 22nd, so you're all invited.
Fantastic. And links to Coffee Stream and YouTube channel are in the description below, so go and check him out. Keeps you up to date with any patch notes. That's always very useful. I'm dyslexic, can't read very well at all, so I always go to Coffee to catch up on what's going on. So thank you for coming on, Coffee. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the time. Hopefully the devs come back to us. 2 jobs inbound.
Oh, that'd be heaven. Jesus Christ, I'll take a pay cut as well just to work on Conqueror's Blade. Yeah, I'll even take a pay cut while I'm currently
work on the game you love. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Plumcast. Got to get the name right. We might have to work on the name slightly. I'm got to figure that out. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bye bye.